Who would you trust with your life? Everybody says JT.
You just can't find anything wrong with them.
What a great soul.
I know I can trust you.
You have my word.
To the final two in this game. My mom told me you can win this game. If anybody can do it, you can do it.
Now, before I get this video underway, I just want to say nobody's perfect. Even though I'll be talking about some bad calls in this video, I'd still much rather be on this list with $1 million in my bank account than on the hashtag robbed goddesses list that doesn't exist yet. But anyway, hey, welcome. My name is Peridiam, and let's get this botched auction on the road, shall we? I love the idea for this video. Most often when you talk about winners, you talk about the moves they made that worked, the good positions they put themselves in to succeed. But what about the times where those soon-to-be millionaires actually did the opposite, when they hurt their game? And that's what we'll be discussing here as I list what I believe to be the top 5 worst moves made by Survivor winners. Bear in mind, this is going to be talking about the winners only on the seasons that they won and not on any seasons that they played before or after the season they won. Sorry, JT. So without further ado, here's number 5. I'm going to come out of the gate swinging. Seriously, this is going to shock some of you. I've never heard this move be brought up on anyone's list. Now, I love this man as a player and as a character, so it does somewhat pain me to say I am talking about Tyson in Survivor Blood vs. Water when he chooses not to play his hidden immunity idol at the final 6 right before the tie vote rock draw. Every winner on this list has won despite their flaws, and while Tyson gets very lucky in not drawing the wrong colored rock, I say I would rather have a winner be good with the moves they make than lucky. And going to rocks and having a 1 in 3 chance of going home on nothing but luck, when it was entirely preventable, it just to me doesn't sound good. So for those of you who need their memory jogged, Tyson was in a 4-person alliance at the final 6, and the plan is to vote out one of the 2 outsiders. Easy enough. Except, one of the outsiders is really good at talking, and both of Tyson's closest allies are terrible at talking, which ultimately leads to the bottom person in their 4-person alliance questioning whether they should jump ship or not and force a 3-3 tie. Well, spoilers, that's exactly what happens, and Tyson is forced to draw a rock and live on a hope and a prayer that he doesn't go home, especially with an idol in his pocket. Oh right. Did we forget that part? Did Tyson forget the part that he has an idol in his pocket? I don't think he did, given he had just played an idol at the previous tribal council. See, this move, or lack of a move, baffles me. Yes, I know, Tyson takes a huge gamble and he gets lucky, and it's all to his benefit moving forward, but do you see his face? He's so nervous. He doesn't have to be nervous. Jervis is immune. He has the necklace. So if Tyson plays his idol on either himself or Monica, and he guesses correctly, well, Hayden goes home and everyone's honky-dory. But even if Tyson guesses wrong, let's say he plays the idol on himself and then they vote for Monica, and it's a 3-3 draw, well, guess what? It doesn't matter. If it goes to rocks, Tyson, Jervis, Monica, and Hayden are all immune from drawing, leaving only Sierra and Katie to reach into the bag. The moment Tyson plays his idol, his entire alliance is safe and will move forward with a majority in the final 5. Instead, he doesn't play the idol, and then he has to ship bricks while Jeff Probst gathers some nearby rocks, sprays paint on them, and then shoves them in a knapsack. I understand that Tyson took a huge gamble in not playing his idol and it paid off in the end, but I believe relying on Lady Luck is almost never the good move. And Tyson had the capability to make a good move over a lucky one. And the difference there between a good move and an unlucky, you just got rocked out with an idol in your pocket move is huge. It's huge. So yeah, I kind of feel like this was a bad move. And dare I say it, one of the worst moves ever made by a winner, even though it does work out.
Dangerous move. Ballsy. Didn't think you had the balls to do that. That's your chair over there, one of those.
Phew. Okay, that was a long one. Number 4. I'll be brief with this one, mostly because there really isn't a lot to talk about. It's just a clumsy move. Jenna Maraska's blabbermouth at the final 12 swap in Survivor the Amazon really wasn't going to be portrayed as anything but just dumb. It was really just a dumb major lapse in judgment and consideration for the game being played, and it paints her in a pretty dopey light. See, at the final 12, Jenna gets sent on a reward with Dave from the opposition, the men's tribe. They get to spend the night together, eating many a meal, taking fresh showers, sleeping in a nice bed. Oh, and Dave gets to peek at Jenna's boobs before everyone else in the country.
There's a naked girl in the shower that you can see into, and I'm standing on the other side of camp, brushing my teeth, thinking that this is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me.
Jenna tells Dave every little detail about the dynamics of the women's tribe. Everything. Her closest allies, the previous votes, alliances, the dynamic, all of it. She even goes on to tell us that she knows it's not the best idea in the world, but, well, whatever. The next morning, Probst arrives and tells Jenna and Dave they're gonna have a draft to mix up the tribes. And now, what do you know? Dave is in a prime position to do whatever he wants strategically to break up the women's tribe over the next couple episodes. He divides the tribe with the intention of keeping the men strong, which is what happens, as throughout the swap portion of the game, only the women get voted out. Now, what happens in the swap moving forward isn't entirely Jenna's fault, but to see a winner make such a clearly careless blunder that was so easy to not make, and it definitely had ramifications moving forward, it's disheartening, and I think it definitely deserves a spot on this list. And I do know that some people want to talk about Jenna giving up her immunity necklace to Heidi at the final 6, but I do think that that move is a little bit more nuanced, and even though you can make an argument one way or the other whether it was a smart move or a bad move, I decided not to put it on this list, but keep it as an honorable mention. Number 3, Bob. Number 2. No, okay, I kid. Okay, Bob. Let's talk about Bob. Mr. Bob Crowley, who I adore as a Survivor player, is definitely on this list, and for good reason. He's often regarded as one of the least strategic winners the show has ever seen, and I completely agree with that. And to be honest, Bob is on this list less so because of any one single move, and more so because of his entire game. It's just really, really weak and poorly executed. Now, don't get me wrong, he has a list of tactical errors, but this spot is really going to his game as a whole. I could mention how Bob placed himself comfortably at the bottom of a 5-person alliance and was a-okay with sitting there all season, knowing full well he was going to lose to any of them in the end, or how he made a fake immunity idol for no real good reason other than to appease a basket case and piss off an ally and a future juror, thus likely losing him a jury vote. But really, the most compelling reason I have decided to put Bob on this list is because of his pitiful excuse for a final tribal council performance when he's up against Sugar and Susie for the $1 million. This is, hands down, without question, the weakest performance a winner has ever had from any season of Survivor. It just so happens that he's against 2 players who have even less of an idea how to win a jury over than he does, so it really just comes down to Bob being the lesser of 3 evils. The jury doesn't really seem to be voting for Bob so much as they're just not voting for Susie or Sugar, and Bob just so happens to be there. Could you imagine if this was a final 2 with Susie and Sugar? I think we would actually have our first jury walkout. I don't think Bob completely tanks the final tribal council. It's more just in any other season, I think this performance doesn't net him a win. I think he does himself almost no favors, maybe aside from kissing Charlie's butt a little bit at the beginning. He just doesn't make a case for himself. It's really not great to watch, and as far as winners go, I can't see his resume being anything more than the bottom of the barrel. And I love the man. I think he's a great character and one of the most unique winners the show has ever had, but there really wasn't much to his own merit, and I think that's what matters most.
The occasion didn't come up for me to take control. I mean, I didn't need to. You people are making good decisions. There was no point in me stepping forward and saying, no, let's not do that.
Okay, well, this will be an interesting choice, that's for sure.
Number 2. Now, I love this winner and his story, and I would honestly say this is probably the best story a winner has of any season, but I'd be totally off the mark with this list if I didn't include Adam Klein from Survivor Millennials vs. Gen X, when during the merge episode, he goes into a total fig-tail spin crash and burn that results in him almost getting voted out at the merge in 13th place. Now, I actually find this move charming and fundamentally pretty good. It has a good motive, unlike the previous 3 I've talked about, but at the same time, it blows up in his face. The bad move is when Adam tries to befriend Taylor in the middle of the night by revealing a bunch of classified information, hoping to win Taylor over so the 2 of them can maybe possibly work together moving forward. See, on paper, I don't think this is a terrible idea. Adam is trying to discreetly win allies over in the most unlikely of places. What's the saying? Keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. See, the problem is that Adam is dealing with Taylor, the guy who, in the very same instance that Adam is trying to win him over, Taylor is literally taking the tribe's food and eating it when nobody else is looking, and Adam is trying to make an ally of him. Likewise, Adam, but not 2 episodes ago, voted out Taylor's island girlfriend Figgy, completely pissing Taylor off to a point where he wants nothing more than sweet revenge. Adam tried to befriend this guy, while at the same time making an attempt to target one of Taylor's allies, Will. He was clearly trying to play Taylor against his own alliance, and Taylor saw right through it. Basically, all of this noise creates a domino effect that leads to Adam's move being spread through the entire 13-person tribe, which ultimately has his old tribe mates plotting to vote him out at the very next tribal council. Adam's own allies even stopped trusting him just because of how desperate and shifty it comes off.
But Adam is the most frustrating person to work with.
And I mean, I get where Adam is coming from while he makes this tailspin. I get his thought process, his attempt to stay in the game for at least one more tribal council once he realizes he's in hot water. But you gotta admit, this whole crashing and burning was brought on by Adam himself, trying to make a move that was just never in the cards. It was a bad read, a bad play, but hey, at least it wasn't the worst move ever made. Number 1.
Dumber than a bag of hammers award, okay?
Okay.
The worst move ever made by a winner really is no contest. It's like when you challenge Joey Chestnut to see who can eat more hot dogs in less than a minute. You know you're really, really hungry and you think you might stand a chance, but then you just see how damn fast he's eating and suddenly realize, yeah, I never stood a chance. In this case, the absolute worst move I'm talking about is when Mike Holloway at the final 9 of Survivor Worlds Apart, he gets the entire tribe, basically the entire tribe, to turn against him for the remainder of the season, literally every single episode from there on out. In fact, I've heard rumors that to this day, they are still trying to find a way to get Mike voted out. This move happens at the auction, but right before the auction, Mike hears of a secret plot to take him out by this secret, sneaky alliance. So they go to the auction where they get to treat themselves to a bidding war for all kinds of food, but really Mike is holding out all of his money for something better. He wants an advantage in the game. See, he feels the heat all of a sudden and he badly wants this thing. Right before the advantage is revealed, Probst allows everyone to bid on letters from their loved ones. At this point, only Mike, Dan, and Carolyn have all of their money left. So they decide to come to an agreement. They will each bid $20. That way all of them will still be on the same bidding level. And then when the advantage is revealed, they can duke it out and all have the same chance of getting it. Mike, Dan, and Carolyn go up to give their money to Probst to get their letter. Dan and Carolyn give their money first, but at the last second, Mike decides to turn around and he goes back to his seat and goes back on the deal. Everyone in the tribe flips a shit, and Mike is just sitting there pondering, did he do the right move? Did he make the wrong move? Spoilers, he made the wrong move. Mike realizes this was a bad move. So he decides to try and rectify it by getting up and giving the $20 and getting his letter. But then he goes on to lose the advantage to Dan when they draw rocks. There's actually a surprising amount of rocks in this video. So to recap, Mike pisses off his closest allies, Dan and Sierra. He loses their trust. He then goes back on his move to go back on the deal. He pays the $20 to get his letter, only to then lose out on obtaining the advantage. Essentially, Mike stirs up a whole lot of hell for no gain whatsoever. To make it worse, once they get back to camp, Mike explodes in front of everyone, trying to blow up this alliance's spot red-handed. But nobody in the tribe really cares or even really kind of believes him. He just shot his trust while at the auction when he went back on his word. He pulled a half measure. And if there's one thing I've learned from watching Breaking Bad, you never go half measure. So Mike tries to blow up this secret alliance, but nobody trusts him, and now he's soured the mood back at camp because everyone is reading their letters from home and getting all emotional. It's just the wrong place at the wrong time. I just don't understand why Mike needed to do any of this at all. Even if Rodney has a secret alliance, Mike can talk to Sierra and Dan after the auction and tell them what's going on. If Dan wins the advantage, but Dan is on Mike's side, it's kind of all for the better. When he loses Dan and Sierra's trust, he compromises his character and his credibility, which also loses him 2 pivotal numbers. This is the final 9 after all. You only need 5 to take the lead. Mike had Shirin and Jen. He was all set to make a counterstrike, but instead he calls everyone out and he gives his opposition the chance to react and respond accordingly, which is exactly what they do, and they do it a hell of a lot better than Mike. From there on out, Mike is placed in a major hole, all of his own doing, from the final 9 until the very end of the game. Never before has a winner been at such a large deficit for so long of a time, let alone all because they made a terrible move to put themselves there in the first place. I don't think I'm going out on a limb when I say I don't expect there to ever be a move worse than this for the remainder of the entire series of the show. Well, thank you guys for watching. That's the top 5 worst moves ever made by a winner. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, let me know in the comment section down below. If you have any future ideas for a video, don't hesitate to let me know. This video was actually suggested to me and I loved the idea. I went with it. I'm taking notes. Anyway, thank you guys again for watching and I will see you in the next video.
Not an idiot. Just because I talk slow don't mean I think slow.